kicking off round 2, chapter 2. Okay. Hey, my name's Craig. I'm going to read the Resin Chronicles to you guys. I'm the author of the book, and I'm going to record it to you live in my home studio. I'm doing the tracks for Audible, but I'm not going to edit all this video, or I'm not going to edit this video all that much because, well, it takes a heck of a lot of time and effort to edit the video, and I need to edit the Audible tracks, and I need to edit the video for you guys. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of heavy editing on this. You'll get to hear all my goof ups and mistakes. All right, you want to know how much fun this is? I did the whole freaking recording earlier, and I've come back because I heard myself mispronounce something so badly that I was like, crap, you got to come back. And here's the funny thing about doing Audible tracks. You have to record one full chapter each time you record because your voice changes day to day. You do a bunch of screaming and yelling, it's going to be more gravelly. You don't, it might be a little bit softer. And so if you don't do an entire chapter in a day, your vocal changes from day to day will become too apparent and choppy in the audiobook. Funny, huh? All right, so let's get to it. I've got to come back here because the very intro of this chapter, I jacked up when I did it earlier. So here we go. Hours after midnight. Hours after midnight. Too much. Hours after midnight, a low pulsing hum woke Owen from a deep sleep. From his second-story window, he could see over many of the other buildings inside the city walls. He listened intently. It was the same humming sound he had heard in the square the day before, but something was different. Owen could feel the hum penetrating his body, and he needed to return to it. Owen felt a sudden clarity about the world around him. His gut told him that this was his moment, his purpose. He was sure that nobody would notice if he left the house, because Owen's body was small for a 12-year-old, he could easily remain hidden in the dark. 3 rough hinges groaned under their load as the wooden slat door to his bedroom swung open. He slid into the dark hallway and dragged his fingertips along the granite block walls. Several guards would be on duty, but Owen was not worried about it. Avoiding them would be easy. Oil lanterns gave their locations away. Besides, 3-foot thick stone walls ensured that any sound he made would not travel very far. After several twists, turns, and pauses, Owen climbed out a kitchen window. He proceeded toward the city center. With every step, the pulsing sound grew more intense, but it was not the noise in his ears that got louder. Instead, it was an intensification of a vibration he could feel permeating his body. Everyone except for the city guards was asleep, and Owen enjoyed the quiet peace of the city as he walked. The well-worn stones lining the streets felt cool on his bare feet. I just moved my foot, and you might have picked that up. Hear that? That's the sound of my foot on the frickin' microphone. You can't move when you're recording. The well-worn stones lining the streets felt cool on his bare feet. He zigzagged around buildings and moved in a stop-start fashion toward the square. His eyes had fully adjusted to the darkness. A clear night sky provided enough light to see the colorless outlines of the buildings' stone walls and thatch rooftops. Stopping and starting as he walked through town just felt like the right thing to do. Everything seemed so easy. Somehow, he did not see a single person anywhere. He even missed the guards that paced the top of the city wall. Owen followed the rhythmic pulsing sound to the meeting square in the city center, and he was surprised to find it empty. Owen thought, was anyone else hearing it? He continued following the sound and looked down when he reached its most intense point. It was coming from deep below the city square. He stared at the stone paver beneath his feet. Owen could feel the pulsing sound move through his body. It moved with purpose, penetrating everything around him. Focusing his thoughts on what he felt, the energy waves became visible, pulsing up from deep underground. Owen waved his hands toward his body, and an exhilarating sensation overcame him as the energy rejuvenated his mind and body. Turning his attention to the sound of the source, Owen's vision penetrated the ground beneath his feet. Deep beneath the surface, hiding under a glut of granite, a bright, glowing, ethereal white mist came into focus. It was a dense, concentrated wellspring encapsulated inside a bubble trapped under a stone shell. A man grabbed Owen's right hand. "We have to go. Your father sent me. Hurry now." Owen did not see the man appear or recognize his voice. Instead, the tall figure holding his hand was a silhouette against the fiery backdrop of burning buildings. Around him, rooftops burned and people ran through the streets, screaming in panic. Yet something didn't feel right. The fires seemed like a dream. Owen knew he wouldn't have missed the fires and yanked his hand free. A group of men with swords ran toward him. Real or not, the sight was scary. Owen grabbed the man next to him. "Help!" he screamed. "This way." The shadowy figure squeezed Owen's hand and yanked him forcefully out of the square. "What happened? What's going on?" said Owen. "A surprise attack. Assassins from Eladin started fires. The southern gate was destroyed. They're everywhere. Come this way." Pain shot up Owen's arm as he was pulled along. The scene didn't make sense. Fires couldn't have spread across the city this quickly. Slowing his pace, Owen pulled against the man. "Who are you? Where are we going?" asked Owen. "My name is Shay. I need to get you out of here. A team is waiting for us north of the city. They will escort us to safety. No time to explain. Come on." Flames jumped across thatched rooftops, surging out of windows. Swords clashed and people cried. Owen grabbed at Shay for protection. When they reached the northern wall, they found the gate had been smashed. Jagged remains of timber were burning on its hinges. A half-dozen gate guards were splayed out, dead on the ground. The smell of burning flesh stung Owen's nose. Shay lifted Owen onto one of the guard's horses and took another for himself. Owen's body trembled as they rode across farms to the northern hills. He closed his eyes and thought about the sights he had just witnessed, the scream of a man being stabbed. The smell of his essence spilled into the street. At the gate, and the dead gate guards on the ground. When Owen opened his eyes again, they were nearing the northern hills. They traversed the road from Vasilia much faster than he thought possible. Owen was not sure if he should continue to follow Shay. He thought about taking the reins back. Nothing about what he saw in Vasilia made sense. How are they going so fast? Where is the escort? Just ahead. Just ahead. Owen noticed the outlines of several bodies strewn across the ground. Suddenly, a man jumped out of the darkness with his sword pointed. Suddenly, a man jumped out of the ground with his sword pointed at Owen's chest. Shay knocked the man to the ground with a swift kick. Owen darted his head back and forth as an arrow swooshed inches away from his nose. "They're all dead. I need to keep you safe. Let's go," Shay said. Owen trembled again and was glad that Shay had defended him. Sticking together is safer, he thought. As they crossed into the hills, the terrain shifted from rolling plains to steep inclines. The route was unfamiliar to Owen because it was known to be unsafe for children. After crossing over several ridges, Shay stopped in a valley and dismounted. "Trade horses with me. You are smaller and mine needs a rest from my weight." Owen did as he was told and mounted the horse Shay had been riding, and they took off again. Hours passed as they rode, and the hard saddle beneath Owen soon wore on his backside and legs. He wished he were an accomplished rider like his father and brother. They hit the top of another ridge as the first rays of sunlight came across the land, illuminating a non-stop procession of steep hills and narrow valleys. Owen was worried about his situation. They had been riding for a long time. "Why are we going so far away from Vasilia?" Shay stopped at the question and turned to look at Owen. The sun was up, and it lit Shay's face. His appearance seemed familiar, though Owen could not recall where or when he had seen him before. His clothing was disheveled and mismatched, and a wide collar on his jacket was tucked under shoulder-length auburn hair.